Lily wasn't having the best day. Her worn sneakers squeaked with every step, her messy ponytail fought with the wind, and the crumpled resume in her hand had a smudge of watercolour paint across the top corner. But today was the day. She had an interview at a small local gallery called Canvas and Company. They offered a steady income and even free art supplies. After walking for hours, she stopped in front of a sleek glass building with the words Canvas Design Group written in bold at the top. Wow, this gallery really leveled up, she muttered and stepped inside. The receptionist looked up unimpressed. Name? Lily Carter, she said, offering a hopeful smile. I'm here for the interview. Without a word, the woman handed her a visit badge and pointed toward the elevator. Floor 9, room 9, B. Lily joined a group of sharply dressed professionals in the elevator, trying to imitate their confident posture while ignoring the loud squeak of her sneakers. When she arrived, an assistant led her into a bright meeting room. Please wait here. Mr. Knight will see you shortly. She took a seat, nervously adjusting her blazer. Mr. Knight? For an art gallery, she whispered to herself, confused but too anxious to ask. Moments later, the door opened. In walked the most intimidating man she had ever seen. Tall, perfectly tailored navy suit, hair slicked back, and a presence that filled the room before he even spoke. He sat across from her without glancing up from his tablet. Lily Carter, gallery applicant. Yes, I specialize in watercolor and mixed media, she said proudly. Adrian Knight looked up, finally raising an eyebrow. This isn't Canvas and Company. This is Canvas Design Group, a global architectural firm. Lily blinked, her face turning pale. Wait, what? Lily walked into Adrian's apartment building with a purple suitcase that had seen better days. The wheels squeaked slightly as she dragged it through the sleek lobby, drawing a few curious glances. She had a backpack on her shoulders and a pillow hugged tightly in her arms. Ready for my new temporary role as the fake wife of a billionaire architect, she muttered, taking a deep breath. Adrian held the door open for her with an arched brow. Did you bring your entire neighborhood? Just the basics, she said brightly. Clothes, shoes, my favorite pillow, and some emotional support items like this cookie jar my aunt gave me in 2012. His penthouse was exactly what she imagined, structured, modern, overly clean. Not a single throw pillow was out of place. It looked more like a spread from an architecture magazine than a real home. Lily paused in the living room, eyes scanning the immaculate space. Where's the mess? The tangled chargers, the mystery socks, the couch crumbs? They don't exist here, Adrian replied. Everything has its place. Well, take a photo now. Things are about to get delightfully chaotic. He led her to one of the guest bedrooms. You can settle here. It's yours while this arrangement lasts. But please no pets that shed or plants that require emotional support. So no rescue hamster, she quipped, tossing her pillow onto the bed. 10 minutes later, the room had already changed. Lily draped a bright scarf at the head of the bed, fluffed her pillow, and lined up 2 dog-eared novels on the nightstand. There, she said with satisfaction. Personal chaos successfully installed. Adrian stood at the doorway, arms crossed. Let's go over the rules. Oh, I love rules, Lily said, grabbing a notebook and a pink pen. Can we use stickers for each one? Rule number 1, Adrian said, sitting down across from her at the kitchen island. Don't enter my room without knocking, unless there's a fire or an earthquake. Lily nodded seriously. Got it. Rule 2, no touching my drafting table or my design files, ever. Reasonable, she said, scribbling it down. Rule 3, each person does their own dishes, even if it's just a glass of water. Even if it's symbolic hydration, she teased, especially then. She leaned back, tapping her pen against her lip. Rule 4, no speakerphone calls in common areas. He nodded approvingly. And Rule 5, if we argue that we pause for chocolate or one episode of a feel-good sitcom, Adrian cracked a rare smile. That might be the only rule I'll actually enjoy. They sat in silence for a moment, both realizing how strangely natural this felt. Not forced, not awkward, just easy. Later that evening they had dinner together, if scrambled eggs and toast counted as dinner. This feels oddly domestic, Lily said between bites. Adrian sipped his tea. It's just food, shared in the same space, no deeper meaning. Sounds like you're trying to convince yourself. He looked at her and didn't respond. After the dishes were done, separately, Lily turned on a sitcom and flopped onto the couch cross-legged, holding a throw pillow to her chest. Adrian sat beside her, not too close, not too far. You're actually laughing at this? She asked during the third laugh track. I'm laughing because you're laughing. That might be the nicest thing you've said to me. Don't get used to it. That night, as Lily tried to sleep in the perfectly quiet room, she missed the familiar city noise she was used to. Car horns, neighbours arguing, someone blasting music at the wrong hour. The silence here was eerie. Unable to rest, she padded into the kitchen in her socks. The lights were off, but Adrian was already there, seated at the island with a steaming mug in hand. You too, she whispered. He nodded. The silence is louder than it looks. Lily poured herself a glass of water and sat across from him. Is it always this quiet when you're alone? Quieter, he said. They sat there in the hush of the apartment, the city glowing softly through the massive windows. For the first time, the arrangement didn't feel like a game. It felt like a moment, one that neither of them wanted to end. The next morning, Lily woke to the faint sound of the coffee machine in the kitchen. She tied her hair into a messy bun, threw on one of Adrian's oversized t-shirts and padded into the living room barefoot. You have an alarming ability to function before 7 a.m, she mumbled, rubbing her eyes. Habit, Adrian replied, sliding a steaming mug toward her. On the counter a printed list sat waiting. She picked it up and skimmed through it. Important birthdays, company event schedules, relatives' names. How we met. She raised an eyebrow. Just in case someone asks, consistency matters. Lily smirked and read the first line aloud. We met at a cafe. You offered me directions. Our first conversation was about the weather. How utterly romantic. You want to make it more believable? It works, she chuckled. Though the next part's gold. First kiss in the elevator after she tripped and he caught her. That's practically a screenplay. It's poetic enough for tabloid headlines, Adrian replied dryly. Let's add a twist, a backup love line, something like, since I met you, my coffee tastes sweeter. Adrian looked horrified. Don't ever say that out loud. Too late, already stored in memory, she grinned. That evening they attended a dinner with investors. The restaurant was elegant, the lighting dim, and every corner hummed with quiet conversation. This is my girlfriend Lily, Adrian introduced smoothly. She greeted everyone with her signature charm. Relaxed, warm, effortless. She talked about growing up in a chaotic neighborhood, her unconventional path, and her ability to balance schedules and sarcasm. You two make a great couple, one of the guests commented. You seem like opposites. Total opposites, Lily smiled. He's a perfectionist. I'm more adaptive. For example, he prefers logic. I make decisions based on which coffee smells better. Laughter followed, including Adrian's, though he tried to hide it behind his wine glass. On the way home, the car was quiet for a while. They liked me, Lily said softly. You made an impression, Adrian replied. Was that a compliment? It was a fact. She tilted her head toward him. You've been a little less grumpy tonight, almost friendly. I was under pressure, couldn't blow our cover. And when you defended me from that comment about my music taste, reflex. You're having a lot of reflexes lately. Adrian didn't answer. He kept his eyes on the road. Later that night, Lily tiptoed into the kitchen for water and found Adrian standing by the window sipping tea. Couldn't sleep, she asked gently. I usually stay up late, he said without turning. Me too, she said, pulling out a chair. But tonight feels different, maybe because everything's quiet, or maybe because I'm living with a man I've known for only 4 days. He smirked. You're adapting faster than expected. You seem too calm about all this. I've been through worse. You trust me? She asked, surprised. You're honest. It's rare. That might be the nicest thing you've said since we met. Don't get used to it. She smiled faintly. I don't. Nice things usually come with fine print. They sat in silence, their mugs growing cold. What if your grandmother shows up unannounced? She asked. She will. Then we need to look believable. Shared photos, my toothbrush in your bathroom, shoes at the door. Strategic mess, fine. But don't call me babe in front of her. Only if you don't call me darling, unless absolutely necessary. Lily stood, stretched, and glanced over her shoulder. Back to bed. We've got a fake life to maintain tomorrow. The next few days passed in a blur of routines, checklists, and perfectly timed smiles. Lily found herself memorizing more than just Adrian's meeting schedule. She began to recognize the subtle shifts in his expression, the way his shoulders tensed when he was deep in thought, and how he always looked away when something touched a nerve. At exactly 2:27 p.m. every day, she placed a cup of black coffee on his desk. This is eerie, Adrian remarked on the 3rd day. You're like a human alarm clock. It's called emotional efficiency, she replied, winking. I read somewhere that caffeine tastes better when it's delivered with sarcasm. On Friday morning, a message popped up on Lily's phone. It was from Eli, someone she hadn't spoken to in years. An old friend from high school, kind, warm, and the kind of guy who once shared his lunch with her when she couldn't afford one. Eli. Hey, heard you're working at Parker Corporation. I'm in the building today. Want to catch up over lunch? She smiled softly. Who's Eli? Adrian asked, glancing up from his laptop. Old friend, she said. We went to school together. He wants to grab lunch. There was a pause. How long will it be? He asked. She arched an eyebrow. Since when do you time my lunches? Just curious, she smirked. Relax, I'll be back before you can finish correcting the alignment in your spreadsheets. Lunch with Eli was light and nostalgic. They laughed about shared memories, and she briefly filled him in on her life, skimming the odd parts. She didn't mention Adrian, not in detail. Back at the office, Adrian was standing near her desk when she returned, his arms crossed, expression unreadable. You came back on time, he said. Were you monitoring my punctuality? Just noticing patterns. Eli doesn't make you uncomfortable, does he? Should he? Only if you're, I don't know, jealous? He didn't answer. Later that afternoon, Adrian walked over to her desk and tapped the edge of her laptop. Dinner? Tonight, with me. Lily blinked. Dinner, you're not asking. That's an order. It's part of the role, public exposure. We haven't been seen in a while. She stood. All right, boss, I'll wear the dress your grandmother would approve of. The restaurant was dimly lit, with white tablecloths and the kind of silence that invited conversation or left room for tension. You've been quiet since lunch, Lily said, picking at her salad. So have you. You've been less sarcastic. I'm digesting emotions. She laughed. That's the most poetic thing you've said since we met. He looked at her. What did you feel when you saw him? Eli? Nostalgia. But it wasn't electric. Not like this. She didn't mean to say that last part, but it was out. Adrian froze for a moment. You think this is electric, don't you? He didn't answer. Back in the elevator on their way home, Lily leaned against the wall. You act differently when you're jealous. I'm not jealous. That's why you booked a last-minute dinner and gave me the silent treatment for 3 hours. You're imagining things. I'm observant. That's why I make such a convincing fake girlfriend. They reached their floor and stepped out. Inside the apartment, Lily walked into the kitchen and pulled out a box of cereal. Adrian appeared in the doorway. "Too early for breakfast, too late for dinner," he said. "Perfect timing for a meal of emotional confusion," she replied. He leaned on the counter. "About earlier?" "It's okay," she interrupted. "We're pretending, I get it." She stood up. "But don't ask me to ignore what's happening. I feel something, Adrian. I didn't plan to, but it's there." Silence, then Adrian took a slow step forward. His eyes searched hers. "I didn't want to hurt you. What if you're the one who gets hurt?" Still silence, and then, without warning, he cupped her face and kissed her. It was soft, intense, unexpected. The kind of kiss that didn't ask for permission because it already knew the answer. When they finally pulled away, Lily was breathless. "Was that in the script?" "I think we just threw the script out," he murmured. The next morning everything felt different. Not because the furniture had moved or the sky outside looked any greyer, but because Lily could feel the weight of last night's kiss in the air. It sat there unspoken in the space between them. Adrian was already at the kitchen table, dressed in a crisp shirt, reading the newspaper as if nothing had happened. His coffee steamed. His eyes stayed down. "Morning," Lily said, trying to sound normal. "Morning," he replied, not looking up. She poured herself a cup of coffee, waited a beat, then tried again. "So, are we going to talk about—" "I think it's better if we don't," he interrupted. Her stomach dropped. "Don't talk about it. It was a moment. It shouldn't complicate things." Lily placed the mug down harder than she meant to. "You kissed me. I know. And now you want to pretend it didn't happen?" He finally looked at her, his expression unreadable. "We had an agreement, and this crosses a line." She stared at him, stunned. "So that's it?" He stood up, his voice a little softer now. "I just think we've let it go too far." "Too far?" she repeated. "Adrian, you asked me to move in. You had me meet your grandmother. You kissed me. And now that it's real, now that I feel something, you're scared." He didn't deny it. "I built a wall for a reason, Lily," he said quietly, "and I don't want to break it down just to hurt someone else." "So you'd rather lose something real than take the risk?" He didn't answer. "Fine," she said, gathering her courage. "Then I'll take the risk alone." She walked out of the room. By midday, Lily had packed her things. The purple suitcase, the pillow, the little cookie jar. On the kitchen table, she left behind an envelope with a simple handwritten note. It was a good lie. So good that for a while I believed it. "Take care of your grandmother, and of yourself." Adrian found it later that night. He didn't cry. He didn't call. He just sat on the couch, holding the note like it might fall apart in his hands. For the next week, silence settled over the apartment like dust. Adrian kept to his routine. Work, meetings, polite smiles. But everyone noticed the change. Amanda, his assistant, was the first to speak up. "You've been reading the same email for 20 minutes, she said one morning. "I'm just distracted." "Since when do you get distracted?" He didn't reply. At his office desk, tucked in a drawer next to budget reports and client files, the note from Lily remained. Alongside it, the first list she ever wrote for their pretend relationship. "If someone asks how you feel about me, say, 'She makes me laugh, and for me, that means a lot.'" Meanwhile, Lily tried to settle back into her old life. She took freelance projects. She answered emails. She smiled when people asked how things were going. But at night, when she was alone, she'd find herself reaching for her phone and stopping. One afternoon, she bumped into an old friend, Megan, who instantly saw through her facade. "You miss him," Megan said. "I don't even know if I ever had him." "Maybe, but what you had was something real, even if it started out as fake." Back at Parker Corp, Dolores, Adrian's grandmother, called. "I ran into someone who saw Lily at a campaign event, said she looked radiant." Adrian stayed silent. "She's glowing," Dolores continued. "And you sound like you haven't slept in weeks." I'm fine. No, you're not. You let someone with her own light walk away. You're sitting in the dark, Adrian, and you're calling it safety. Grandma, don't Grandma, me. You fix numbers. Fix this. Click. The next day, Lily was invited to speak at a panel for young professionals. She wore a blazer, tied her hair back, and stood on stage with the poise of someone who had been broken but chose to grow instead of harden. Adrian sat in the back row. He hadn't told anyone he was coming. He just needed to see her. When Lily spoke about empathy in the workplace, about showing up as your real self, even when it's messy, Adrian saw the same woman who once walked into his office by mistake and turned his whole life upside down. And he smiled. He didn't approach her after. He left before the panel ended, unsure if he even had the right anymore. But the next morning, Lily found an envelope on her new desk at her new job. It was unsigned, but she knew the handwriting immediately. Some people only realize the value of light after spending too long in the dark. Thank you for bringing light into my life. I'm learning to light my own way now, but if one day you'd like to share that light, I'll be here. She read it twice, her fingers trembling, and for the first time in days, Lily smiled. Not the kind of smile you fake, the kind that says, maybe we're not finished after all. 3 weeks passed since the day Lily read Adrian's note. She didn't respond. She didn't message him back, but she carried the letter everywhere, tucked into her notebook like a secret she wasn't ready to share. She didn't know what she was waiting for. Until one morning a message arrived. It wasn't from Adrian, it was from Dolores. Not feeling well, it's serious. Can you come? The words pulled Lily's breath away. She dropped everything and grabbed her bag. 10 minutes later, she arrived at Dolores's home. Adrian's car was already there. He opened the door, just as stunned to see her. You got the message too? She asked. He nodded slowly. She said it was serious. Lily swallowed. Let's go check on her. They found Dolores in her armchair, wrapped in a floral shawl, sipping tea with the peace of someone who had no regrets. Oh, good. You're both here, she said cheerfully. You said it was serious, Adrian said. And it is, Dolores replied. Loneliness is serious. Adrian sighed. Grandma, you tricked us. Guilty, she said, smiling behind her teacup. Then she stood up and waved them toward her bedroom. There's something strange in the corner by the wardrobe. I need your help. Lily and Adrian exchanged a skeptical glance but followed her instructions. When they stepped into the room, click, the door slammed shut. Grandma, I think the lock just jammed again, she called back innocently. You'll just have to stay in there until morning. Adrian rattled the handle. It's locked. No, Lily whispered. Oh yes, Dolores said. Sleep well, children. And then she walked away, humming. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Adrian exhaled slowly. We've been set up. With finesse, Lily added, crossing her arms. She's good. There's only one bed. I'm not sleeping on the floor, she said flatly. I am, he replied, grabbing a pillow. But later, as the night grew colder and the floor harder, Lily whispered into the dark. You can share the bed. Just stay on your side. Adrian climbed in carefully, pulling a corner of the blanket. They lay there, backs to each other, but awake. Then, I missed you, she whispered. He turned to face her, surprised. Even after everything? Especially after everything. Adrian took a deep breath. I didn't know how to handle what I felt for you. I thought pushing you away would protect both of us. But all it did was make me realize how empty everything is without you. She blinked back tears. I don't want the contract version of us, he said. I want the chaos, the noise, the playlists, the chocolate in the drawer. I want all of it. And I want you. Lily leaned closer, her voice barely a breath. Then let's try. This time for real. No pretending, no roles, no fear. No contracts, he added. She smiled. Except maybe one marriage. He froze for a second, then whispered, I was hoping you'd say that. The next morning, Dolores miraculously fixed the lock. The door opened. She peeked inside with a suspiciously smug grin. "You're still alive, I see." "We are," Lily said. "And you two look better." Adrian helped Lily to her feet, then looked his grandmother in the eyes. "Thank you." Dolores just patted his arm. Sometimes love needs a little push, or a locked door. 3 weeks later, they stood in a sunlit garden just outside the city. The air was filled with string lights, laughter, and the smell of fresh roses. Lily wore a soft ivory dress, her hair loosely curled. Adrian stood beneath an arch of white blooms, dressed in the same dark suit he wore the night she saved him from himself. Dolores sat in the front row with sunglasses and a pink hat, fanning herself like a queen. The guests stood as Lily walked down the aisle. Adrian's eyes never left hers. When they reached the altar, she took his hand and smiled. "Still grumpy?" "Always." Their vows were short, honest, raw. "I walked into the wrong building," Lily said, "but found the right person." "You shook up my life," Adrian replied, "and made me want to live it." They exchanged rings, then a kiss so full of every misstep, every mess, every moment that brought them there, that even Dolores had to dab her eyes. That night, under fairy lights and the moon, Lily and Adrian sat alone on a swing bench in the garden. No speeches, no cameras, just them. "Are you happy?" he asked, fingers laced with hers. "I'm more than happy," she said. "I'm home." He kissed her temple. "And I'm yours. For good? For always." What did you think of Lily and Adrian's journey from accident to forever? Leave a comment below and rate their love story from 0 to 10. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more unforgettable stories right here on Moments of the Heart. Love.